This is Digital Work Diaries, a podcast where we talk about research stories on the changing nature of work, hosted by the Digital Work Lab of Victoria University of Wellington. Hi, I'm Chloe, and in this episode, we're going to discuss a paper titled Use Cases for Prospective Sense-Making of Human-AI Collaboration with Ishara. So firstly, could you give us a little bit of an explanation around your PhD topic?
Yeah. So, in generally, my broader topic of the PhD would be like tool set supporting the sense making and adoption of human AI collaboration, because I'm mainly looking at the current development in AI and how that can support the human AI collaboration. So there, I would like to see two main areas like sense making for human AI collaboration and the adoption of human AI collaboration. So the paper that we are going to discuss today, it's about the use cases for the prospective sense making. It lies in this sense making approach, and also I have done a literature review where I identify the signs of change required the digital transformation in the business organization. And when it comes to the latter part, about the adoption, I have done another empirical paper to identify the obstacle that are obstacle when it comes to the human AI collaboration in the adoption of human AI collaboration. And also I provide some of the recommendation to overcome these the obstacle in the adoption process. And similarly, I am working on another project like a paper to identify the change dimension required for the human AI collaboration, basically looking at the interplay between the mindset, work practices, and also the technological change in these human AI collaboration.
Awesome. What motivated you to do this study?
Actually, it's the context. Context in the sense I'm basically looking at the changing nature of work. So we know during the recent time with the pandemic, there were quite rapid changes occurring in the workplace, especially like the shift towards the remote work and later maybe the hybrid work. Now with these all the things happening around like the introduction of ChatGPT by OpenAI, so there is hype around this AI and the adoption. So basically this in the context of changing nature of work, I am basically specifically looking around the development in the AI like the adoption. And also I saw a gap there because due to this growing AI adoption, there are still unresolved questions and the challenges around what are the benefits, potential benefits, risk, and the obstacles. So that's why I thought of studying around the human AI collaboration. And also with those things, my main aim or the objective would be to understand the sense making and the adoption of this human AI collaboration.
Awesome. So turning to your recent paper, Use Cases for Prospective Sense-Making of Human AI Collaboration, what are your key findings from the research?
When it comes to the key findings, actually the entire paper resonates around the how use cases can be used to do the sense making, prospective sense making. But I will discuss about the prospective sense making in the later part. But when it comes to the main finding, so as part of this sense making process, what we could do is that we could identify the 63 different use cases that can be potentially used in the organizational setting. And then later we classified them based on the value chain activities and the group task activities. So basically around the primary and the secondary task of the value chain, and also about the group task maybe choose, generating, negotiating, and the executing. So we developed this matrix, and within the matrix we identify these 63 use cases. And we saw that the majority of the use cases, they centered around this technological development and the infrastructure in the value chain activities. So it may be indication where the organization need to prioritize about these use cases, because majority of them resonate around these areas. And also we saw that the many use cases, they again in the area of human resource management and operations. So it may be mainly due to the benefits that they give, it result in enhancing the efficiency and the enhancing the productivity, and also it support in the decision making in these areas. And also another like the key finding that we found was there were like 7 use cases that they flagged as quite risky to use in the organizational setting. So those are mainly due to it requires like the complex human interaction. So they like suspect that the AIs are not quite good in handling these complex interactions. So those are some of the key findings.
Awesome. Could you share a little bit about your research approach?
Yeah. Basically, the main methodology is this is like a case study where we did some semi-structured interviews with the executives within this case study approach. But the main like approach we used was the how use cases can be used for the prospective sense making. So if I explain you a little bit about the prospective sense making, it is about like a forward-looking approach where we sense make about the future development in the face of like the uncertainty and the ambiguity. It's like it's more like we anticipate the future development and we try to identify the factors that support these future developments. Especially the prospective sense making is quite useful in the scenarios where if you find these technological development like the AI adoption. So in contrast to like the traditional sense making, we look at only the past event or the present one, but in the prospective sense making approach, where we try to see the future development in a particular field, especially about these human AI collaboration. So then how we can use these use cases to support the prospective sense making is that once we identify the use cases, we look in deeper about like what are the potential benefits, what may be the potential risk or the obstacle associated in these types of like the use cases. So I can see when we have the use cases, how it supports the prospective sense making is that. So one thing is that we can anticipate the future applications. Like if you have the potential problems areas where you know that the solution that comes from the AI would be helpful. So in that way, we can anticipate the future application. And also another thing would be we can like think about what are the potential development in these areas because the technology is evolving. And based on that, we can predict about this technological development. And another thing would be the impact of these use cases. So as I mentioned earlier, what are the potential benefits, obstacle, and the risk? And finally, it may help in like achieving the creativity and the innovation as well. So in that way, we look at how these use cases can be used as a tool for these prospective sense making.
Oh, very cool. What was the most surprising part of your study?
Actually, out of all the findings, the surprising part is about the riskier use cases, as I explained earlier. So we identify these 7 riskier use cases. So and also I explained to you that the risk comes from because these use cases involves complex human interaction. So it's like it's fair that people has a hesitant to use these use cases because of the current AI limitation. But again, the participant, like the interview participant, they found this use case as somewhat cool as well. Even though it's high risky, they think that if they can like adopt these use cases, they will provide the better result as well. So it's one part like we identify that current AI limitation, and on the other part, so it can use as some cool insight in like developing these AIs to better support these complex human interaction. And another surprising finding was that there were no use cases that we could found with regard to the logistic, but it was quite surprised because we know that AI support these optimizing the supply chain and all sort of things. But here when we do the interviews, we couldn't find anything related to the logistic. So that may be one reason because the people may not aware about these application scenarios when it comes to the organizational setting that can support these logistic related activities. So those are quite like surprise findings that we could find out of these ones.
Awesome. Oh, it's a very cool study. Is there a follow-up version of your research or what's next for this?
Yeah, definitely. Because I explained to you when you asked me about my PhD study, it's about the sense making and the adoption. So in the sense making, now we have this one. We try to identify the use cases and how it can support the prospective sense making. And the second part in the adoption, I told you we have done one empirical paper to identify the obstacle and the recommendation. Now covering both these aspects like the sense making and the adoption, my broader topic, I told you about the tool support for sense making and adoption. So currently we are in developing this tool support, like a tool set, or we can see it as a use case template where we can use it to go in detail and analyze the use case around the benefits, potential risk, and the obstacle, and what sort of enablers, as well as what are the key performance indicators that can use to measure the success of these use cases. So currently we are working on that.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, what else should we know about you?
Interesting. So I think I'm quite a tech enthusiastic. So in a way that when there are like new technologies coming, evolving, like the equipment, maybe AI tool, I like to quite experiment around these different tools, maybe AI or maybe like these tech gadgets and all sort of things. And also currently since this New Zealand is new to me, I quite like to explore around the New Zealand, and I quite enjoy this like the video creation, like the short video creation. So those are a little bit of things around me.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. We really look forward to hearing more on your topic.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this Digital Work Diaries podcast. We'd love to hear your feedback and questions. Drop us a comment below, and we look forward to catching you next time.